Hello. This video is going to talk about something that's basically going to make your life a lot easier. And if you're working with an OEM, original equipment manufacturer, or something like that, this is something that's used a lot because it keeps you from having to change code and other things of that nature. And that's called an add-on instruction. The best way I can describe an add-on instruction is kind of like an extension cord. Okay. So if I have one piece over here and another piece over here, I could maybe directly plug it into the wall, okay? But if I separated it and had the same connections on one side or the other, I could extend it out or basically pass any information from one side to the other as long as I knew what the common connections. Well, an add-on instruction is very much like that in a sense of that if I always have the same set of inputs or variables that I use and the same set of outputs that I can control, but they may be different around the plant, I can set up a standardized set of code that could just say, assign, here's all the inputs that I need to assign, here's all the outputs I need to assign, and now execute, okay? The downside of the add-on instructions is you can't change them online, but you can utilize them multiple times. And so I want to just demonstrate a very simple way of going about it. So add-on instructions are found in our controller organizer setup. Down here, add-on instructions. If I right-click and do new add-on instruction, this is going to give me the ability to set up a new add-on instruction. And so I'm going to do one here. I'm going to just call it scale. Because as you know, if you move up from Slick 500 to to 5000, the scale function disappeared. But it is in function block. So now I call my major one revision. So I hit OK. Oh, I'm a unique name. Let me do scaler. Okay. There I go. So now I can have different revisions. So if you update, you can do major revisions or minor revisions so you can track features. You can change the type. I'm using function block diagram. But this is the important thing because this is the basically where you do your male and female end. What inputs and what outputs you need to define or attach to on the add-on instruction. So in this case, let's say I have an analog input. Analog in. And I'm going to call this, because in my case, I'm going to just call this an INT. I'm going to make it required and visible and make sure I call it an input, okay? And so now let me just call an analog output. Or let's just make it easier. HMI output, because maybe you have an HMI or you have like a digital scale or something, a digital readout that you need to send information to. That's different, but let me call it my HMI output, for instance, okay? I want to change this to an output parameter, and I want to make it required and visible, okay? I am also going to define my scaled high and my scaled low. And let me make this an int. No, let me make this a real because it'll make sense a little bit. Make those dints. I can also make them reals, but I'll just make them dints. Scaled high, scaled low. And we can do iAlarm. Let's just not get too complicated. Let me just go with that, okay? So I'm going to make these required, but we can discuss that more in a second. So here's my scaled out, my parameters. These are what need to be defined. I change it from inputs and outputs here. So make sure if you need something to turn on an output, it needs to be an output parameter. If you need something to read an input, make it sure it's an input parameter. If it's something that you need to provide, make it an input parameter, okay? And you need to make it required and visible if you need to define it every time, okay? So I don't need to make these required, so I'm not going to make them required, but I will make them visible, okay? Required just means you have to define something. You need to attach something with it. You can do some other local tags that are found only in this program, and other things like who made it, change history, etc., etc. Okay, make sure you go down and hit apply and OK. And now this, if you go into logic, it should look similarly to any type of function block that you've ever done. Whoops, I just did my definition. I'm used to add element. I'm used to adding element there. So I'm going to go my scale function here. And I'm going to go in here and I'm going to do my my raw max would be what the maximum output of an integer is. So I'm going to just, because I don't know the exact number, and it's around 32,000, my raw min. But I'm going to make these visible here because these are the high and low, so that we're going to set up in a second. And my output, notice it's in real. Don't worry about the ends in real, it'll adjust. So I hit apply. And now here's my logic. And so if I go up here, bring in these, my input references, I can draw my lines here and connect my tags. There, that looks funny. Which would be the parameters that I just enabled. So my analog in, my scaled high, and my scaled low. Okay, and now do my output reference over here, and let's just do my HMI output. Okay, so all I did was identify what are my representative inputs that are going to be used every time I use this function, and what my representative output is. Basically, what's my male side of my connection for my extension cord, and what's my female side of my connection for my extension cord. That's kind of how many prongs do I have, to use that analogy. So now that's all set up. Here's where I go into my main routine. If you look under here, there's an element group called add-on instructions, and this is where I will add a rung and hit my scalar. I need to define a tag because it's a function, so I need some type of tag to store the data. So I'm gonna call this temp sense. Temp sensor 1, for instance. Okay. In this case, I have a pot, and I'm just gonna set up. So I'm gonna define this to local 1, channel 1. Okay. My output, I'm just gonna create a tag, HM, which I will make a real number. Okay. My scaled high, so let's say I'm doing a Kelvin process. Sorry, I made those required. I thought I could get around it. But if I want a scaled process, I can just put a number in here. So let me say this is representing 72, let me do 373 Kelvin and 273 Kelvin. So that 0 range there, okay? That's my scaled high and scaled low, okay? Let me make a new sensor, create, and now everything's hunky-dory. So now I'm going to download this. Download. And I'm going to show you the cool thing about add-on instructions in a second. Yes. And so now it's 290. If I pump up the jam, pump it up, you'll see if I crank it all the way, it's getting close to Now I don't quite go up to 3,200, but notice I'm up there pretty high within my range. If I go all the way down, you'll see it hits 273. So I just scaled, and I just did some scaling without doing all the math. Well, let's say I want that also in, I have another temperature sensor, okay? I'm going to do the same analog input just for ease of control. This could be a totally different setup. And I'm going to create another HMI tag 2. And let's say this is Fahrenheit. Right here. Create my new temperature, set my tag. Here we go. Everything's good. I hit OK. And now, look, 32. So I'm using the same logic, but I'm scaling 2 different ways. But I didn't have to, wasn't that much easier than writing a whole nother code and copy and pasting even. Just add the add-on instructions, assign your inputs and outputs, and you're good to go. Now, if I want to monitor this on time, I can't, because this is my parameter setup. But one benefit of this is if you have access to like function, because this is actually function block and structured text is an add-on to Allen Bradley that you have to pay some money for. If you create this add-on instruction in function block, you can export it to something and still use the functionality of it without having to go in. You may not be able to edit it, but at least you can use it. But isn't that, but see what I did. I created a logical pattern that is used a lot. I identified inputs and outputs that would need to be there every time it's run. And I set up a function that I can, then can transport multiple different ways, that all I would need to do is define my inputs and outputs that I set up in my system. If you work with Siemens before, this is like a function block, okay? So that's what an add-on instruction can do, okay? And I can import other add-on instructions. So I think I have an add-on instruction right here, actually, or somewhere. Let me go into my PLC3 class, and these are all some add-on instructions. Let me go into here. Yep, here we go. This is from a company IFM, but these are all add-on instructions. If I want to import one in, all I gotta do is click on it, hit open, and it's gonna ask me to do some questions, and it'll just automatically import. I hit OK. And now it should show up here. That was that easy. And so if I wanted to add that to my program, oh, that's my scaler. All I need to do is identify these different things, and it's good to go. Already set up for me. Already set up for me. So that's just one thing you can do with function add-on instructions. You can also download a bunch of them from the knowledge database. So for instance, let me see if I can find it. Add new add-on instruction. Let me just do a import add-on instruction. I think one of these that I downloaded. This is a setup for variable frequency drives, so PowerFlex 40 add-on instruction. Hit OK. And there's instructions how to use these from Allen Bradley, but I just want to demonstrate how easy it is to bring things in. I think with this one, I need to define a parameter, I think. I forget, it's been a while since I've used it, but there's instructions. But you can see if I hit the power flex, add-on instruction, okay, what's my input, my add-on instructions, my VFD inputs, my VFD outputs, and input scaled speed at 60 hertz, input number. So this is all stuff that if you go to add-on, if you go into the add-on instruction information, it's all there. Let me see if I pull it up because it's yep, user instructions is right there. I'm opening it up. But yeah, you can see there's user instructions with the faceplates so that you can do some stuff with it and how to set it up. So configuration and so on and so forth and so forth and so forth. So I just wanted to let you know that this is a possibility, and that Alan Bradley does give you stuff that you can walk through. I know I didn't set how to use this add-on instruction, but it will make my life. It will make your life a lot easier. So connected to drive. I added my add-on instruction. What do I got to do? Parameters and local tags. Yeah, that's what it is. It's parameters and local tags. I gotta find the input power flex 40. And then instead of bool, I'll add a tag. Instead of bool, make it AB power flex I0. Yes. I click OK, and then I do the same for the output. On the in out. And go from there, hit yes. And now I should be good to go. So if I go into my main routine, create a new tag. And now define it. Yep. Yep. And do 600. And number of rows visible. Verify run. Did I not set that up right? But you get the sense. This is what I get for doing something I've only done like once or twice on the fly. I just want to show you some of the capabilities of this. Do I need to do this? Okay. And monitor tags. Okay. And you can see all what's going on behind the scenes there, kind of. and hit OK. Just make sure it's saved. And let me go back through and try this again. There, I did the wrong parameter. That's it. That's it. So, but now there's a way to control it and the like with an HMI if I wanted to, and there's a whole different way of going about it. But again, just try to give you demonstrations. Trying to go into the detail, it's up to you how you want to manipulate things. It could be through structured text or other stuff. Hope I didn't get too much in the weeds there, but again, Allen Bradley's got a lot of these add-on instructions on their website. OEMs have them as well. But that's how you create one. That's how you import one. If you need to export one, just right-click on it and right-click on the add-on instruction and export add-on instruction, and then you have it good to go. Okay? Let me know if you have any questions, and thank you for your time.